Jake, we're wrapping up the year 2023. What are some highlights for you?
Oh my God, Scott Narver. 2023 was crazy. Let's see. I mean, hey, the state went back on tour. That was great. Oh man, remember that Titan submarine thing? That shit was fucking crazy. Oh, remember when Mitch McConnell froze like he was some sort of an android? What?
This is a year in wrestling. You didn't mention one wrestling moment.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I mean, Mitch McConnell did seem to be wrestling with existence. But anyways, 2023, a year in wrestling, today on Pro Wrestling Palskis. Hi, Scott Narver.
Hey, Jake Lloyd Bacon.
And hello to everybody tuning in. The exclusive patron-only live stream, the last one of the year.
Oh, man. How are we going to go out?
I'll tell you how we're going to go out. We're going to go out with the current PWP World Champ, Tim Redbeard, a.k.a. Blood Fuzz. Acknowledge him. The official December PWP champ for 3 years in a row. That's insane still to me. I still can't quite grasp that.
Yeah, it's an unusual stat to say the least. And sometimes in wrestling, someone just has something weird where it's like, oh yeah, that person won 2 Royal Rumbles. That person this. Like, that's Tim Redbeard's stat. Can't take it away from him.
By the way, champ in the chat. I love it when that happens. Champ in the chat.
Champ in chat.
So listen, it's our final recording day of the year. And it's interesting.
We're taking a break. That's why.
Yeah, we're taking a break.
There'll still be episodes, everybody.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get all sorts of silly shit right in the places where you expect to find it.
Ooh, that's how Jake's holiday goes around the house. Hey, you're gonna find some silly shit where you expect to find it. So have fun waking up on December 25th.
You think sometimes that's what Randy Orton left for people? It's just some silly shit.
Some silly shit. Like he just made he took some brown silly string and then just like did it all up and they're like, oh, it's poop. Oh, it's silly string, Randy.
Oh, so he played on the expectation of his behavior.
Yeah.
Okay. I respect that. That's like really outside the box thinking for Randy. I wouldn't expect that from him.
His wife seems like she's pretty fun, right? Like she's pretty funny,
okay.
Out there. I imagine she's the kind of gal that she hears about the stories of like, wait, you pooped in people's bags? Yeah. And then she's like, that's fucking hilarious. And he's like, wait, what? Oh, okay. Really?
I like that. There was a video that just came across. I don't know if it was on the Discord. By the way, getting on the Discord, pwpalskis.com. Or if it was something on social media, and it's probably an old video because I think his kids are a little older now, but it was just like his family in the backyard, just like hanging out in the pool, and his kid goes to jump. Oh, yeah. His kid goes to jump in the pool, and Randy hits him with an RKO. I fucking laughed my ass off. I was like, that is fantastic.
Yeah, it's kind of old now, but I'm hoping, that kid graduates, goes up, gets the diploma, right? Goes for the handshake.
Oh, no.
From the principal or whoever, and then like, boom, another RKO.
His dad. His own dad.
The milestones.
I mean, it's just good parenting.
I think so. It's good viral parenting.
Champ in the chat says fake poo is always funny. And he's not wrong.
Eventually.
Well, speaking about things that are always funny.
It can have an initial like, oh God. Oh, okay, now it's funny.
Speaking of things that are always funny, this is, of course, a pro wrestling program, and we're going to talk about the year in wrestling. It's the end of the year, is 2023, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is coming to a close, and it's an interesting year to talk about the retrospective of the year, because I feel like this probably is the year that I was the most disconnected I've ever been since I just had those few years where I was just dark. What about you?
Same. Yeah, it's hard. Same. And Part of it is life, family situation.
Sure.
Part of it is presentation. Like for the most part, I'd say out of the 52 weeks this year, 40 of them for sure have been watching wrestling with my buddy Steve on Wednesdays. We get together. It used to be 3 of us watching stuff, but we'll do it because he lives in New Mexico now. So we'll have a weekly watching some wrestling because he got back into it when CM Punk was coming back in AEW.
Okay.
So like when that Rampage happened and all the things, like we were watching as much as we could. And then now I'm like, I don't want to watch Dynamite. It's so bad. And he's like, yeah, but it's kind of fun bad, right? I'm like, yeah.
Maybe.
And I know I'd have even more fun with it if we were sitting on a couch together. Sometimes it's a little tough when you're watching online and you're going like, yeah, there's some lag or, you know, there's some delay. But I still have the enjoyment of that, but it's still just not as much as what has happened in previous years. Like this is certainly a much more disconnected year than previous years with wrestling.
Yeah, I think I was just kind of burnt. And you and I talked about this both off and on air, I believe, like late last year around this time, where I was just kind of like struggling to stay engaged with it, with all this other stuff happening. And then like the icing on the cake was all the stuff that happened in my personal life this year with the relocation and all this other stuff where it was like, even if I wanted to, that was almost a year and a half ago.
Yeah, but it's still there.
But that happened at the end.
You haven't done anything about it.
No, and that is definitely a cause for stress and concern. But
well, when I say engagement, I do mean you were forever planning until the wedding. That's always something where if you go, all right, I'm going to kick back and watch some wrestling. It's like, hey, wait, who are we bringing the Waltons or not? Like, oh God, who are they going to sit next to?
Clearly the Daltons. We're going to do everything by rhymes.
Oh, that'd be fun. Rhyme and assigned seating at a wedding.
I mean, there's probably only at best you have 2 groups, right? Like, what are the odds that you have more than 2 different groups of names that rhyme?
I don't know.
Then you'd have to start doing things where it's like, okay, these are both the same name, but they're not related. So like the Johnsons, there's probably like 4 different couples named Johnson, or
Yeah, but then you go, but that guy over there, sure, he came with a group of 3, but his name's Willie, so we're going to put Willie with the Johnsons, because now this is a dick table thing.
Yeah, now,
right here.
Oh, I love that. Do we have any Richards coming?
Yeah.
And by the way, that sentence itself is a joke. But anyways, the attempt to the point was, a very disconnected year, and I think that there wasn't a lot of incentive because even the things that I was hearing were like, oh, this was good, you got to check in. None of it felt like must-see. We're like, this is... In fact, all the must-see crap was the stuff that was the media scrums and the stuff that was happening off air and the podcast interviews. And it was like so much of the industry as even as a performance. I was going to say as like a real life drama, but like even as a performance, so much of it was happening not in between bells, not even in between the opening and closings of a television program.
Yeah, I'd say the beginning of the year had must-see TV. Like the build to WrestleMania was a head turner for when I was pretty checked out going in, and it was like, oh, WrestleMania's in your backyard. I don't give a shit. I'm not going.
Yeah.
And then there was this contingency of like my brother saying like, let's get a box. Let's fill it with your friends and like, let's hang out with some of let's have a good time. And the boys will want to check it out too. So my nephews were kind of into it. One was more so than the other, and it'll just be a thing. And that was I felt like if I don't watch wrestling again, or if I'm just kind of out of it, this was a great send off to a WrestleMania hangout. It was different from all the other ones. It was laid back. It was casual. It's food, super fun. But the build up were some must-see moments. That ovation of Sammy and Kevin embracing.
Yeah.
Finally.
Right.
After all that time of them fighting, or even the tease of Jey Uso's going to be with Sammy, and then he turns on him. That the audio distortion level of crowd reactions, like that was huge. Ray finally punching Dominic was huge. These were holy shit. Like, I'm excited to watch this match because this story has built so big. I got to see this.
Yeah.
Cody winning the Rumble was big. I think the beginning of the year had a lot, and then it turned into what you're talking about, the scrums,
Right.
behind the scenes stuff. It just wasn't the same, whether that's just the anticipation of a WrestleMania and you get so excited, then the rest
Maybe
feels like it not as much, but it definitely turned real hard.
You know, that's actually an interesting point, too. Do you think that they put so much effort into creating that hype machine from, you know, essentially December to March that it's just really easy, like, to gain that fatigue to try to do it all again in July, or to try to like sum up any interest in SummerSlam even these days, or some of the smaller pay-per-views or PLEs or what the fuck they're called now?
I'd speculate that with longtime fans like us, where for the most part we can see a lot of stuff kind of coming and going where it's gonna fall.
Right.
And it's not always about that. It's not always about surprising us and going like, yeah, I knew that was going to happen, but maintaining the interest of it, or the occasional turn of something where you go, oh, that's an element I didn't expect in it. It didn't have to completely change on its head.
No,
but there is the fatigue. This is part of if you have the long reigning champion of a Roman Reigns, so you go, great, you're making the title mean a lot. That's cool. But if I'm watching it and going, well, this person's not going to win, so what's at stake here, really? Or if then the rest of the card is kind of flat and you go, I'm losing it at SummerSlam. I get it could be a big deal, but I'll check back in again once I know we're building towards Mania, because I know that feels like something could change around then.
Right.
We're conditioned.
It is interesting too, because I and we'll probably be discussing this a lot. Just because I think it is one of the big stories of the year. It's you know, arguably the big guy in pro wrestling right now, CM Punk aside, is Roman and this reign, no pun intended. That, like, for me, that was what was holding me in. That the all the bloodline
not
stuff,
the girdle.
Why the fuck you gotta tell everybody about my secrets? I don't know why you gotta put that public. Now that's out in the world, no, you can't take that back. Now every time you Google Jake Lead Bacon, it's gonna autocorrect Jake Lead Bacon girdle ? Just like how when you do Scott Narver feet is what comes up automatically.
Scott Narver feet, and I wanted to be corrected. I wanted to say Scott Narver footy pajamas, but it's just feet.
It's just too hard. We need to get some. Better manufacturing going. Anyways, yeah, that stuff kept me in, and I think that, like, my favorite thing for the whole year, it turned into my least favorite thing of the whole year, and it's kind of unfortunate because the bloodline story around, you know, and I don't know when Sammy was, like, I don't remember, was that technically 2023 or was that? When was the Sammy Roman match? Was that Saudi? I can't remember what.
That was February.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that's in the year. Like that.
The chamber, so like whatever that was.
Right.
That,
Hell in a Cell,
that event.
something like that. Yeah.
I'll look it up.
It was some title of a pay-per-view, then a different match underneath it, and a colon, and then a different match. It was a Survivor Series.
So yeah. So it was at the Elimination Chamber.
Got it. Okay.
In February of 2020.
I mean, that whole build is one of my favorites. I loved him in that group. I loved having the X factor of, like, we know KO is your best friend, and the fun. It was the best version of what this art form is. It's the best version of blurring the lines of reality and taking our preconceived notions of who these people are. The fact that he was able to get over the fact that they're in Canada. Right. Mike Lucas just says Chamber in Montreal. It was so big and so fun.
That's his favorite sexual position. That has nothing to do.
Oh, Chamber in Montreal
match. Yeah, that Mike Lucas is. You Google Mike Lucas, shows up Chamber in Montreal.
It's interesting. Montreal, they're really good with those positions, because my favorite is the Montreal Screwdrop. But it was so easy to watch.
Put it on social media.
It was so easy to watch. It was so Just fun. And I think everybody was doing like some of their best work. I know that you weren't sold on you thought that there was pacing where everybody's taking you think like the Thunderdome era, like ruined stuff where people are taking too much time talking and not acting and they're delayed reactions and they're milking the crowd too much. And I get what you're saying, but
I'm going to tell you a thing right now. This thing is going to happen. It's 3/4 through the match. What's happening right now?
I like it though. I enjoy that. It was just
so
so
we get with no
good.
blood.
And when he loses, when Sammy doesn't do it, I'm like, well, this is because now it's like, well, now what next? And then steps up fucking Cody. And this is just perfect. It's this great story. And I would be lying if I didn't say that. I mean, you could go listen back. I'm sure we talked about it. Is after Mania occurs and Cody doesn't win it, it's like, fuck, that was such a good opportunity that you don't know, like, now really where do you go? What do you do? And then they have the whole story with Jay. And I'm like, this is it. Great. This was where it ends, where it all began. And then they squander the whole fucking thing. And it's because they can't. It's because they just can't. Because they can call him main event Jay all they want. He's not the guy. They're not putting it on him. They're not going to do that. Like, and so the Bloodline was my absolute favorite thing. And eventually, essentially the Jimmy going back, that to me was this is now the NWO or whatever, where this is now like, we don't want to end this thing because it's a cash cow for merchandise and for TV time, but logic is now gone. Like,
but do you like Scott Norton in the Bloodline now? Do you think that's fitting?
I know from context clues that it's an NWO reference, but because I did not watch that era of WCW, I don't know. Okay. But it's interesting though. It's a lesson in television writing, to say the very least, and how wrestling is so unique with trying to book storyline far in advance and setting yourself up for success. Because in hindsight, yes, Cody was the guy. Should have been Cody. Maybe just went in there, but also, and
that story, this long-winded story that Cody's telling, is still playing out. So as difficult as it is, like, I was one of the guys that night, as you know, there's a van full of us driving away from WrestleMania and going like, what the fuck? What the fuck?
Your party
we're all
van.
bewildered.
Yeah.
Steve Venoni, OC Palski, put it best, where at the time I was kind of miffed and going like, no, what are you talking about? But it still rings true with Cody not winning the title at WrestleMania and the idea of it being maybe this year at Mania or some other event where it has other significance or meaning, of whatever the eventual moment of Cody winning the world title, and Steve going, yeah, but I'm here right now.
Right. 100%. And there's something to be said about long form storytelling, but it's already been long form. It's not like, it's like going to, a clear number 2 of a trilogy that you already know is a trilogy and going like, that's so crazy because the good guys didn't win yet or whatever the fuck. And, like, this isn't that. Right. This has been going on for years now. And it felt like we were,
Well, Cody hasn't been a part of the equation for years.
No, but I suppose the hierarchy of everybody that Roman's run through, and now it's like you finally have a person who's at your level from elsewhere, who's it's like an X factor, which on.
Oh, wait.
Go ahead.
Just Incredible, Albert, or X-Pac.
Okay, there you go. Thank you very much for that. Obviously Just Incredible. His name is Just Incredible. The foresight of his parents to name him Justin when your last name is Credible. I mean, what are these?
Oh my God. Is that what that means?
Did you never hear that? Just Incredible. Did you never know that? Oh,
no,
I give credit.
That one I knew, but I will own up to the fact of I didn't put Paul Bearer together until probably like a handful of years ago.
Wait, a handful of years ago? Like,
oh yeah.
You're kidding.
Like probably no. I'm not kidding at all. Like
why have we not talked about this on the program? Paul
Bearer as first name is Paul, last name is Bearer. That's it. Like there was no pun, no nothing. Isaac Yankem, totally got. Just Incredible, got. Like all puns rang true except for Paul Bearer. And maybe it's just because of the speed at which you say it. It's like, that's Paul Bearer.
It's the emphasis is different from a pallbearer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why, or if I saw it, there was no one. A pallbearer isn't spelled Paul.
Of course not, but yeah.
But Just Incredible is spelled Just Incredible, and it was a number of years ago, and I go, oh, that's dumb.
So this is now my favorite moment of the show for the years. Here's 2023 PWP in review. My favorite moment is learning that Scott Narver didn't get Paul Bearer until he was in his 40s.
But he also wasn't one.
That he never.
So that's the other weird part.
He never bared a Paul.
If he was fun Earl director,
fun. His
then
first
I'd be
name
like,
was
hey,
Fun.
that's what he did. He did that job. Or
That's really good.
M. Balmer.
Oh, his first initial is M. Period. M.
Balmer.
M. Balmer. Oh, know Kane. You know that was going to be one of Kane's names at some point. Oh my God, Mike Lucas then says, oh my God, Scott, same. I never knew what a pallbearer was. This is incredible. We're changing perspectives. I wonder if people are listening to this right now going, wait, what?
Huh?
Oh, fantastic.
See?
Well, any case.
I'm not alone.
Any case. Whatever we were
But
talking
I'm alone.
about.
So we were talking about Bloodline story and Roman being running through everybody.
It is like, there's still something there, but I don't know what it is because I have checked out. The second Jimmy went back, because by the way, that whole match was incredible. The tag match between the Usos and the Civil War, whatever they called it, Bloodline Civil War, was fantastic. I loved that. It was a great match. It was well told. It was the very first time that Roman gets pinned in 3 years or some shit like that. So you've got some great storytelling there. You created a really fun moment, and and it's one of the other blood. Like it's great. It's perfect. And then you, just because I think you don't know what else to do. And I'm giving like W credit this year for, telling some really fun stories and doing things in a way that feels like progress from a few years ago for sure. But in this instance,
taking more time.
Yeah.
And just better layout of things, seemingly overall than years previous.
With the exception of Jimmy going back. It just, I didn't buy it, and their reasoning behind it, as I'm sure justified as they can explain it away, you lost me. And that was I was tuning in to watch the Bloodline segments. That was all I was doing.
Yeah.
Fast forwarding to those. And if I saw something on the way that went, oh, what's she doing? What's he doing? I'd watch. But other than that, I was just watching the few pay-per-views I could catch and those segments. And the second Jimmy went back, I checked out, and I only checked back in because of Punk.
You're a Jimmy hater.
Jimmy hater? I don't hate him. I'm just disappointed. I'm not mad.
I don't hate
disappointed.
you. I'm just disappointed in you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's totally fair. Because I think I had a bit of the same with Cody, that I was watching as much stuff as I could leading up to Mania.
Right.
Totally hyped for all that. I'd say like half the card I was enthusiastic for going there, and then all in on Cody versus Roman. And then I appreciated that there was still an ellipses to the end of the match. It's like, no, Cody got screwed out of the thing.
Right.
All right, what's the follow through? Hey, the next night he's going to be teaming with Brock. Holy shit. All right. And Brock's acting weird. He's acting all buddy with him. And when Brock acts buddy with someone and jostles them around, that person no longer has control of their body. It was like, he turns into the thing with Matt Morgan.
He turns into a wrestling buddy.
Yeah.
That's
so
funny.
We didn't even get to sit in that. That was just an immediate turn to get to Brock and Cody doing stuff, which, it's fine, but I was excited for that. So then I had that second disappointment where I go, yeah, all right. And I just kind of fell off.
Right.
And at times I wanted to watch and life stuff got in the way or whatever. And then there's also ultimately, we don't have to harp on this too long, like Punk returning, like seeing Cody the next night. What's going to happen? Cody and Brock are going to do a thing. You still got to sit through 3 fucking hours of television.
Well, You don't if you don't watch it live, but I understand the sentiment. Yes.
When you want to be,
Right.
when you want to see what it is, when it's happening
Right.
live and not have it spoiled or see it snipped together, when
Right.
you want to experience it, it's still just a long fucking time. And
Yeah.
when you've watched it for so long and you feel like I've seen a lot of wrestling, it's cool for new fans that are just taking in all that they can and it's new for them and they want to see everything. Fucking A, like you get older and there's family and stuff going on and you just go, it doesn't work. So that part's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Do you think though that because it feels like the train is gearing back up again with Rumble and Cody and now of course Punk back, that like we're right back in it. Like they fucking hook us every goddamn year around this time.
I want them to.
Yeah, agreed.
And I'm all for it. I want them to hook us all the time. I don't want it via as many titles as there can be possible, but
right.
I'm glad that we're coming to the end of the season of, hey, Jake and I are going on break, right? Like It's fully acknowledged. Hey, we're going to do a wrap up. We're going to do that. WWE does the same thing. A lot of wrestling companies do the same thing where they go, yeah, we're going to have some stuff, but look, nothing's really going to fucking change until we're getting to January. That's when shit's going to happen.
Right.
Great. Fine. Awesome. I'm looking forward to the stories of the Rumble, looking forward to CM Punk challenging people and getting put it all in there. Like that's great. I will take the lull to then be fully invested and want to watch everything.
Right.
Even hook me for a Saudi show. Haven't done that in a while. Get me. Come on.
Speaking of hooking you and using that analogy, Mike Lucas in chat says watching Raw live is like fishing. Sometimes there's a big catch. Sometimes nothing bites.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. What about on, I think we could both argue that like on the WWE side of things, I do think that Roman and the Bloodline first half of the year or however many months that was first, maybe it was only a quarter, was the best thing that they had going. And then it seemed they shifted their focus onto Judgment Day. And to like Rhea and even Damian a little bit. And I, again, haven't been ingesting a ton of that. So I'm not completely caught up on it, but does it seem like there's something else in the runnings on the WWE side of things? Is like, this is the best thing they got going. That's not CM Punk, which I think we can both agree is the thing going right now.
I'll give the credit to WWE on this for sure, that Roman Reigns, they have been 100% consistent with.
Sure.
When previous years, you can say there's been a lot of like ebb and flow of something, or this title meant more than this title, or Roman's the fucking guy. He is the guy that is 100% consistent, and he is the must-see television. Like he is the guy you tune in for, and that is the main story. So that's been outstanding.
Right.
Cody Rhodes has been consistent the entire time, as far as he came in. He's a big star. He's going to be involved in matches that you are going to want to watch, and they're going to be great.
Yes. And he's
100% consistent.
And he is
crazy.
He's going to make you care about all of it.
Yes. And he's had mic time, and again, all things been consistent. He's not been dancing. He hasn't been put in stupid segments.
Right.
None of that shit's happened. They haven't ruined either of those two top players.
Right.
Dominic Mysterio has had an ever steady climb.
Yeah.
They've invested in that kid.
Great year.
The group being formed, you could say it's for him. It could have been for Damian Priest, or like whatever the original intention was. Like Dominic's running away with the whole thing, as well as Rhea.
Him and Rhea, yeah,
but she's,
for sure.
She's okay. She's fine. She's always going to be able to take care of herself because look, in-ring stuff, whatever, but Dominic's always needed the help, and he's doing great with it. So also consistent with that. The other thing that's been massively consistent, I think, as we're talking about, is Gunther.
Absolutely.
Gunther's steady upward trajectory of, I still say it's like a year and a half or so.
Did you just say trajectory? Because listen, I know that you don't
trajectory.
You don't. You always never let shit slide with me, and I can't just let that one go by.
Well, as I was saying, I was like, that's right.
Tamina. Trajectory.
Trajectory. Son of a bitch.
And projection.
So Gunther's trajectory, if you will, or his trajectory, because he throws people.
Listen.
He can do a Beal like nobody else. Keith Lee acts like he does, but no. Gunther is going to be cheered if they don't flat out turn him face. He's going to be cheered in about a year and a half automatically from just people going, "You're fucking great, dude."
Right.
We just naturally like you now.
Yeah.
He's had these rises that should be, because he will be main event before I think everybody realizes it, because he'll have had so many great matches with the Intercontinental title. He's had so many great matches with competitors left and right. Shit he's done with Chad Gable, shit he's done with Rey Mysterio, like everybody. Miz even, for fuck's sake. That he will just be a guy that they'll go, he'll have lost the Intercontinental title, or he'll feud with Brock or whoever it is, and the transition will happen, and you go, this makes sense.
Right.
He's ready. We didn't need a Money in the Bank for him.
No.
This is the one guy where they'll do the tradition in the old, they'll do
old school,
the transition in the old way.
Yep.
And he'll be so credible. You go, he doesn't need a cash in. He doesn't need any of that. He just competes and wins. And he could be the guy to take out Roman if it's not Cody.
Right. That's a great point, and I like that. And I think there's really only one thing that they can do to ruin that, and that is if he starts getting popular, is to like trying to think of a good person, like what happened to Rusev. Like, as much as we all loved Rusev Day and we all cheered because it was funny, he didn't really seem like a competitor anymore after that.
He became the sports entertainer.
Yeah, exactly. Or when Roman
we got a fun act here.
Yeah, when Roman got funny for no reason. Speaking of Rusev, when he was doing the bit with Rusev, like and Lana and the cake and whatever, like these are moments that you go, okay, like I enjoy this in the moment. It's fun, like they're having a good time. It's not unentertaining, but you are essentially cutting that character off at the heels, and that's probably the only thing that they could do right now that would be detrimental. Would be to make him funny. Or make him enjoyable. In fact, I really enjoyed his feud with The Miz last month. From what I saw in like the promo package in the the recaps and whatnot. And that is like I don't mind that he's smiling and making fun of his competitors and like having fun with them at their expense. But he's not
having the arrogance.
Yes, but it's an arrogant smile. It's not like, don't turn him into. We're all, or like, Sheamus or when he was being like, we're fun guys now. And, which again, for those people, I liked it. Like, I loved when Sheamus was, stealing Alberto Del Rio's car and shit like that. And just being like kind of silly and fun.
I hated it.
See, I didn't mind it because he just seemed like kind of I don't know. It seemed like he was like he was ball busting more than he was like, I don't know, trying to be funny.
Again, it's just when it just turns, when it's just like, hey, I'm this guy now. I do this, and I steal cars shirtless in my trunks. Like, no,
yeah, it does.
No, you're not that guy.
But yeah, keep Gunther on whatever this trajectory is. Trademark PWP. Make it a shirt.
One of the P's is trajectory.
That's what it stands for. The Trajectory Wrestling Palskis. That's really hard to say.
Yeah, shouldn't you give me a little bit more credit then? I'm coming up with words that are really hard to say.
But he could, maybe that is a good person for Roman. But here's the problem: is it heel?
We only had the one interaction between Gunther and Cody Rhodes at the Rumble last year, right? Like they're the final two. That is still. I've gone back and watched it once so far. I've been wanting to watch it again because
their chemistry is
great. Good on them. That's the only time that they've done a little back and forth. And that was a match.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they made it a match too. It wasn't just like it's down to 2 and now let's try to dump each other. They actually like got a few minutes of just your everyday Raw, whatever. And it was fantastic.
So we can go back to that. That's still a thing that might come into play this year where it's, hey, I know it was all about you last year and you didn't get it done. Gunther's saying to Cody that now I can get it done. That they've they have stuff in their back pocket that they just kind of swept away to make us forget about it. They've used some deflection, and that might be something they use, but Gunther has been so great throughout 2023.
Right.
The WrestleMania triple threat match that I was not excited about, thinking like, I just want him versus a guy. Like, give me just one-on-one.
Yep.
They masterfully put together a classic, and Gunther, you watch Bloodline stuff. I tend to not, just because there's too much, and I go like, I don't know. I'll take a Gunther match.
Right.
That's what my go-to
Right.
is. That Gunther's fighting whoever, like, great. I want to watch it because he's different, he's unique, and he's just really, really good and believable. Everything about it, and they've treated him so well. I fucking love it.
Well, what about on the other side? What about on AEW? Is there like, I mean, I just have to go MJF as the best thing they got going, because he tends to always be that. I know other people are fans, but I haven't seen a lot.
Ric Flair.
I'm sorry. Who?
Wooings. Ric Flair is there. Yeah, MJF. It's hard because what you said about making this character funny, a lot of the Adam Cole stuff I've found to be fairly cringe. Like a lot of the pre-tape cut together segments,
the dance,
as much as
the dancing. It's like you said, don't stop fucking dancing.
Some of that stuff. MJF is naturally funny. He brings out funny when he's cutting, and he can do it. But the collective AEW comedy segments, they're really rough, and they made me stop watching MJF on a consistent basis.
Wow.
I know other people like it and they're all for it, but I think this will be the low end of times throughout MJF's career, that this will be, oh yeah, he did some of that shit for a little bit. That wasn't great. The other stuff was awesome. The matches are great. The other things that he's doing around it, or when he's out there solo, it's fucking great. He's definitely been amazing this year.
And in fairness, that's one of those segments where, you know, in like a career retrospective highlight reel, or in like a WWE Untold for whatever the AEW version would be, when they're like talking about his career 20 years from now, they're going to be like, and the thing about him was that he wasn't afraid to have a good time. And they show that one clip, you know, it's like there's always that one clip of somebody being silly at some point in their career, and doing a bit, you know, the Kane doing a spin-a-rooney. They always have that. It's always going to be there.
It's so early on, it doesn't seem necessary for him to do a lot of the stuff where he could still be the type of character he is and not do it, but he's doing it as well as he can. So credit to him there for not floundering in something, like just fucking going like, I can't do this. I feel it's the other people that can't do up to his level, but he's, again, to their credit, for as much as AEW has not been consistent with many a person on their roster, with MJF, he's been champ this whole time.
Right.
He is the guy for as many titles as they keep adding as well. He is consistently, hey, you're tuning in to watch this guy. I still don't, you know, personal feelings aside about what the Wembley main event was.
Right.
At the end of the day, he was the main event of that show, that highest box office show in the UK. That's great. That's all fucking awesome. And MJF should be in that spotlight.
Right. And also because he is an AEW guy. He's not they made a new guy. Yeah, he's not. It's not Adam Copeland or Christian or even Sting or
Jericho.
Jericho or any of the other,
starting with Jericho, that you always want the like, oh, but where's a new guy to make champ? Like, identify your company with the newer guy.
Yeah.
Great.
Even Mox
did it again.
Mox is like, yeah, don't get me wrong, like he's definitely an AEW guy, but he's not, because we had Stardom in WWE prior. And so like he feels like a homegrown. He feels organic, and his success is due to AEW and vice versa. which there aren't a ton of people on the roster you can say that about, I feel. Like that don't come with some, some baggage from another promotion or just some level of stardom prior to the existence of this fucking corporation.
And people could say that for MJF, where it's like, oh, MLW, he did this, and this. But once you get on a major platform of television, that's always going to be the case. Because I mean, even now that there's a lot of people that don't fucking know Jade Cargill from anything.
Right.
And it's always a different platform. It's always a different thing. It's CM Punk referencing fighting the Young Bucks backstage on WWE television
to nothing.
It's a fart in church.
Yeah, to no response whatsoever. And he was smirking like this is gonna crush. Like he was so overconfident. And by the way, I loved that whole segment, and I enjoyed the line, but it was so clear that people were there was no reaction from that crowd. They had no idea what the fuck he was talking about.
Yeah, there's the occasional person, I'm sure there are pockets of them like us where it's like, oh, shit.
But if that's not proof,
sorry, what?
If that's not proof that like the 10%ers, like the online wrestling community,
the different audience that's watching
is really not. Yeah, we're everybody. We all think like we're in some sort of fucking special as it's our dollars that keep this going. No, we're not. We don't do shit to move this needle. Like their money does not come from us.
Yeah, but it's back to the point of MJF being an AEW guy and them putting the stamp of, yep, we're still running with him. This is still the guy. We're still going. I think that's been a great thing in 2023 of MJF being their world champion.
Right. Yeah. And there's one argument to make that like there's probably some section of their audience that's only there because he is still champion, because it doesn't seem like there's a lot. Like I don't know who the contenders are, but there aren't a lot of names I think you could tell me that would make me go, oh, okay, no, I want to. I if they got the title, I'd like to see that reign.
I think they got some contenders.
Yeah, that aren't just
Billy Gunn is still there. You son of a bitch.
Oh my goodness, Christian.
Well, I mean, I can go through a couple names here, and I think you'd be like, oh, okay, I could see that being the champion. Whether or not you want to watch the reign, I think you'd still go like, that makes sense for the company.
Oh, and yeah, don't get me wrong. I think that's the point I'm making, is it's about me personally, not just, yeah, of course.
Well, nothing's going to make you happy.
Oh, you mean that?
But what, Buddy Matthews, he's AEW champ. You're happy, right?
I mean, is he still in the
Buddy champ?
Black Order or what's their name?
Whoa.
What's their name?
Hold on.
House of Black?
Yeah, House of Black.
I confused Dark Order. That's what I did.
Yeah, it's two different shades of black.
And that's not to be confused with Black Triangle and
Death
and
Triangle.
Cone of Black Darkness and
the
parallelogram,
the Hardy Blacks,
parallelogram of pain.
Yeah, I think there'd be a few people that you'd be like, oh, okay, I'd watch that. Paul White, he's never been AEW champion.
Oh man, is Mark Henry still over there doing anything?
Is he still over there?
Yeah, is he still work for that company
and still doing anything?
I mean, he's one or the other.
Two totally different questions.
One or the other, but probably not both.
Yeah, he's still there.
I just looked over it to see. I was like, oh, let's see what the chat has to say. Chat has having an entire conversation about how when you write Tamina in the chat because one of us says something silly, that it's read in Jesse the Body Ventura's voice, and now they're just saying all the things they want to hear Jesse the Body say and do, and it is absolute fucking chaos in the chat right now. So if that's not an advertisement for becoming a patron over at patreon.com/pwpalskis, watch the shows live and join in on a bunch of fucking idiots having a great time.
Us included.
Oh yeah, present company included. Absolutely. Well, do you have like a AEW highlight of the year?
Adam Copeland, baby. I mean, good for him. Good for Adam Copeland getting more money than anyone thought was possible.
I gotta say that luster diminished the second appearance. Like when I had to tune in and watch his debut, see what he had to say, watch the interaction with Christian, and then I had and this is one of my favorites of all time, and I had no interest in watching more of what he was doing there. That's not great.
No, but it's on you because
Yeah, sure.
you hate people named Adam.
It's very true. It's very true.
A highlight of AEW in 2023, other than Nick Wayne's mom's acting.
I got one if you're struggling to pull.
Oh, okay.
Because it is one of the few things that every time I see somebody post, I go, I gotta watch all of this, and that is Toni Storm finding a character. Like she finally realized that if she just committed to a thing that wasn't like, I make this face, that you might actually be able to kind of have a little fun. And I think it set her apart in a way that there's nothing else like it on either brands. It's super unique. I'm not gonna say that it 100% of the time it crushes, but she is committing in a way that is like, she's having a good time. It's fun to watch her. And there's so much of that locker room there that I just think like these women, I feel like they're just being wasted there. And I think she's tough. She's breaking out of that.
Having watched Toni Storm week to week and then seeing again like a character change where you go, and it's changed now. She does this now. You go, wait, what?
Yeah, but we
didn't do any gradual.
Was it that rooted prior though?
Yeah, I thought she was great.
Yeah.
I thought her promos were great. She was pretty straightforward, but honest and good. And then, yeah, I'm okay with the character, but I just have a hard time when we have the character switch real fast.
Right.
And you don't turn into it. Also, you didn't need to find something for Luther after all this time. Luther's been around. We didn't need to go, well, stick him with her, and that justifies us paying him still.
That's true.
You could put someone better with Toni Storm to make the whole thing better. Yeah. You don't just have to put, that guy can't really walk and wrestle anymore, but he's Jericho's friend. Here you go. You're now in this thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's awesome that Tony's doing something that everybody's gravitating to and they think it's fun. It's hard to watch the reality of it all where it's like, she's shot in black and white. Like, okay.
All right. I get your criticisms.
Again, it's just all the hard turn all of a sudden.
Sure.
So that's why I'm taking myself back a little bit. So when I step back in, I'll go, there's a bunch of stuff that explain things and I missed it. So that's fine. That now I get it.
Right. Maybe that's why it was easier for me. Cause it wasn't gradual. I was like, wait, what's she doing now? And I just assumed she must've been doing this for 6 months cause she's committed to it real well.
I mean, you can be shot in black and white or just be like Sting and just dress and put makeup on.
Right.
Cause he's been doing Toni Storm way before Toni Storm.
And you know what? There are some competitors out there who are just reinventing themselves year after year, like a Chris Jericho. And then there's Sting.
Or week after week.
Week after week. And then there's Sting who just goes like, yeah, this is just what I do. Do you want it? I got it. If you want it, this is what it is. What's that?
But next year, you ain't getting it no more. Me and my slave are going home.
Man, it is interesting looking back at AEW at a glance for 2023. It's hard to think about who even showed up in this specific calendar year because there's so many names that I'm like, oh, that's right, that person went and that person went. But because it doesn't seem like they really did much with some of these people, like the Keith Lees, like, I know Alistair, Malachi Black did at least start his own faction. I'm pretty sure that was over a year ago. Like, it seems like people are constantly showing up there, but then I don't really hear much after their debut about what it is they're doing. So it seems like it's weird to think back in the calendar year and just think like, wow, it seems like maybe a lot of people were either underutilized or they thought they were going to be a bigger deal than they ended up being there.
I think that's fairly consistent for a lot of AEW. It's been a glaring problem this year for sure.
Yeah.
That there's just so many people, and you go, great, what's going to happen with them? And some people still are consistent. Like Jericho's always involved.
Sure,
right? Jericho's always doing something. Jeff Jarrett, he's going to be in a match that involves a sponsorship, and he's gonna make those other companies real happy.
Right.
But whether it's injuries, sometimes that can be the thing, or you have the fucking side show of ROH and you go, wait, where did that guy go? Like I remember was watching for a while and going, where the fuck is Eddie Kingston? And then, I'm hearing, oh, Eddie Kingston's doing a bunch of ROH stuff. I go, that's great. I don't have that show. I have this show where I watched him beyond, like, put him back on the show I was watching.
Right.
But it's so scattered. I think that's probably the best word for it, right? Is AEW has become, from my point of view, from after Collision, right? When they were doing the
10 weeks of
separate shows, we kind of have a Dynamite roster, we have a Collision roster. We'll kind of intermingle them at some point, but we're doing stories on both of these. One is booked by Tony Khan, clearly, and the other one has other people kind of putting it together, and it feels like a different show. And there's Rampage, in case you can't sleep. And then there was ROH, where occasionally a Claudio or Kingston was gone, and you're like, where the fuck did they go? But I still have enough. After those 10 weeks, Punk gets fired, Tony's life is threatened, and Jungle Boy didn't show up on television again. Then they go, fuck it, never mind all that, and then it becomes majorly scattered. Everybody's everywhere. There's titles all the time. There's people showing up on this show. You're not getting recaps because it happened on 4 different shows. It's just, you have to be the uber crazy fan that knows all, like a Tony Khan, who's putting it all together. So he knows.
Right.
He's doing his own book to movie adaptation all the time.
Wait, hang on. Is this...
And leaving out parts for the general audience because he goes like, oh yeah, don't you know?
What you're describing is sort of the exact opposite of the Vince McMahon problem, but with the same problematic outcome. And that is, it's an audience of one. It's just two ends of the spectrum. It's one guy saying, in Vince going like, we don't care. Fuck the fans. They don't need to know anything. And then it's another guy going, oh, they'll know everything. And therefore we don't need to explain anything.
We don't need to explain it because they know.
Right.
They've been watching, and it's like, Tony, they haven't been watching. Like, look, you can just flat out look at views of anything throughout the different shows and go, they're not all watching everything. They know. I know.
Right.
And Vince would tell you. Vince is guilty of, they don't give a shit about, or we're gonna show them this thing this week. And then, but they would have known that from 3 years ago.
They don't care. Yeah.
They didn't care.
Right.
They don't remember that.
That's kind of what I was getting at. Yeah. Like,
but they do, but he's just kind of brushing it off, but he's going to tell you the news story.
Right. Yeah.
He's going to treat it like it's something new, and it was a better way of going about it than, they get it.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to show a video package or anything? Nah, they get it.
Yeah, I mean,
he's showing you.
Both can be pretty infuriating as a viewer and a fan of the art form, but yeah,
But you're still getting a full story.
Right, that's true.
With the microcosm of what it is, you might be like, "This is a bigger story. What are you doing?"
Right.
Like, tell the whole thing, and they leave that out. So, being a fan, you're left out in that way. But rather than going, "I'm sorry, what?"
Right.
What's happening? Where'd that title come from? Who did you get that from? What's going on here? Why did that guy jump him? Who is that fucking guy? What are they doing? They're starting a match? Who's that fucking guy?
It does also seem just like the talent pool is so deep in AEW. Not that it isn't on WWE as well, but it seems like
crazy there too.
I do feel like the thing that, as much as we bitched about, like, whether you dislike or like brand splits and all the stuff that occurs, like, at least it allows for people to get their shit in and have some TV time, where it does seem like there's so many people on the roster. And they're all across everything that you're all kind of fighting for the exact same 2 hours of TV time every single week or every single broadcast, even multiple times a week. That like there's just so much talent there down the roster. Like there's so many people who haven't, like Butcher and Blade. What are they doing? Like they have this massive influx of Japanese talent and New Japan talent that you never fucking hear about what they're doing. You've got legends that popping over like Edge and obviously people like Christian who've probably also been doing some of the best work themselves. But it's just there's so many people that I feel like you hear about them for a week, like it's the best thing you're going right now, and then maybe they're there, maybe they're not, or maybe you'll get to see them, maybe they're not.
Yeah, and there's still been a lot of players that are there and doing their thing, but for the breakouts, or if you're not aligned with the faction that's going great, you could just be lost in the shuffle of everybody. So if you're one of the people that you go, I'm just happy I got a paycheck and occasionally show up on TV. Right. It's fucking awesome.
Alice Ray.
But if you're striving to break through, it's a really tough place to break through and be on TV.
Alice Rader in the chat says, unless you're a female in an AEW, in niche race, still you're usually only getting the one match a show. Yeah. You know, I have a theory, and I don't know if this necessarily falls into our 2023 year in review, more as just general discussion, but I think that the best place for a female wrestler is in NXT, because I feel like they have the highest success rate of bringing people to the main roster that actually end up staying employed or doing work. I feel like women do really well in this new version of development. Whereas like there are so many men on the roster who, and maybe it is just an odds game. Maybe I'm just realizing the problem is that it's still always going to be a percentage of the locker room that's smaller, that is women, because the division's always unfortunately smaller. But it just seems like,
well, maybe women are more logical. They go, "What's this job? You work out a whole bunch. Okay, right. Yeah,
we can do that.
I'm into that.
Sounds great.
You travel a lot.
I can see the world.
Sounds cool.
Yeah.
You pay for it yourself.
Oh wait, but it's a job though.
Yeah, and you're an independent contractor.
Oh, but you still give me health insurance and cover all of those stuff, right?
Oh God, no.
Oh, but wait a minute.
And depending on which wrestling company you work for, you kind of don't work for anybody else.
But at least I can. Oh, I was gonna say at least I can go work for anybody else though, because I'm just an independent contractor. Yeah, I know.
The one's a hard no, and one's a kind of.
I don't know. I just
and then hurt your body all the time by falling down.
Well, at least you'll be very kind to me.
I'd rather give birth to a child. Thanks.
At least you'll be very kind to me and understanding when I decide I want to go start a family of some sort. But I don't know. I feel like the success rate. I feel like, you know, more of the women that come up through that system that end up on WWE television stick around for a little longer. And not to say that they're all like in championship titles and stuff, but they just seem to work. If you get to the point where you're getting brought up, like you stick around. Meanwhile, you've got people who are in NXT, countless people who got brought up and they've just done nothing, or they've just gone away and come back and gone away and come back.
You just said that for NXT, right?
Yes, I'm sorry. That's what I meant. Did I just switch it? I'm talking about NXT. Yes.
Yeah, you said they've come up and they've done nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Men, yes. Yeah, like a lot of NXT talent come up and they just they're a shade of who they once were, or they're repackaged, where I feel like the women come up and they kind of just get to continue to evolve and be who they were.
Well, I'd say for the women in AEW, to argue for them, the ones that are good, that outside of injury,
right,
or life stuff going on, they've been there and they've been at the top or in the mix of like the title pictures, right? Like Toni Storm,
right?
Serena Deeb is now just coming back from a major health scare, so she'll be back in the mix.
Okay. What about Soraya Page?
Yeah, they put the title on her at the biggest show in England, and she doesn't wrestle much, but she's always at the shows. She's always part of the television. Yeah. So I don't think she's been used properly, but I still can't tell what the hell she's doing and what's going on with her. But they gave her that big moment. Mercedes Martinez has been around and doing stuff. Chris Statlander's, the one who dethroned Jade Cargill. She's still in the mix. Like Hikaru Shida, the Dr. Britt Baker, like they're the ones that we're all aware of and we know,
Right.
they're still around.
Okay. That's good.
So when they're popping in the new ones and going like, hey, what about you? Hey,
Right.
you got a thing? It's like, you're not really hitting.
They're not.
So they don't always get the big segments. They don't always get the major spotlight, but at any given time too, how many, you got a couple of ladies titles, and if you don't have a major feud with them, or if the audience is like, I've seen this already.
Right.
It's tough. It's tough to keep it as exciting and relevant, but the stars, the women stars they have are still the women stars.
Right.
You know?
Right. So it's not like they're taking.
Sorry, Diamante.
It's not like they're taking their places. They're just being added and shuffled around.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's still a good place for women to go too, especially if you got a strong act and you can wrestle.
Right.
Just that can always be the spot too. Where I mean, but then TNA's coming back, and they always put emphasis on their women's division as well.
Right.
So between the two, I think that's always a good place to try and go before you go WWE developmental and do all that.
Sure.
I always look at it as like, no, go somewhere else and try and get on TV and try and get noticed and work around and then be desirable to WWE.
Right.
Don't start there.
Hey there, Palskis. So we chatted for so long all about 2023 in the world of PW that we're going to split it up and continue that chat next week. But before we get out of here,
But I've got work.
Oh, no, you don't. You're unemployed. We're all unemployed. Everybody's unemployed.
But I gotta clean the house.
That's not true. You don't clean up.
You got me. See, we'll be back next week and everything's gonna be fine. Just continue to lay where you are.
And honestly, I didn't know that little bit you were just doing. I didn't know whether you were speaking as Scott Narver or you were being the voice of the listeners there. So I
That's what keeps me out of the courts.
Very legitimately did not know how to respond to those questions because I was like, what is this bit he's doing? I'm not sure why you're responding as, because sometimes you respond as listeners and I enjoy that. But listen, clarity. Before we go, Scott Narver, we did get a hotline call. So I figured we should see what the hotline has in store for us. Once again, that's 747-666-5606. The last phone number I'll ever remember, 747-666-5606. If you want to get your hotline calls in for next year,
first.
Maybe we can come back in with just a hotline heavy episode in the first episode of the year.
Be heard on the show. Tell your friends, tell everybody else who's like, you have to listen in there saying like, this wrestler is the best wrestler. Like, yeah. Why don't you call the hotline? I don't want to hear you fucking talk about it anymore. You tell some other show.
I mean, we literally are the most interactive program there is. And we can only be that way if you're telling us that we're assholes, right?
Yeah. Eric Bischoff can't do it. He just thinks you're all assholes, but he can't take anything in to be reminded of that.
No, not at all. All right, let's see what we got in the hotline.
Oh, ho, ho. Enough about Jake. What's up, Palskis? It is your Christmas time, December champion, Tim Redbeard from Connecticut. It's been a while since I've called in. Life is just never-endingly busy. Family tragedies, moving. It's a lot. I hope everyone has been taking care of themselves and doing well, hugging those you love most and just sending them well wishes whenever you can. Life is precious, folks. I have missed calling in, but I still get time to listen to the shows. It takes me a little longer to get through an episode just because I don't have a lot of time to listen to them, which is usually how it goes. I just want to say that I love this show, and I always will, and I just love being a part of this community. So, I wanted to put something out there. I think the WWE Intercontinental Championship is the most prestigious championship in the WWE nowadays. It is the one that has stayed the same. Changed my mind. You guys have a wonderful holiday. Be safe.
Tim Redbeard, current PWP champ from Connecticut. Thank you so much for that call and your kind words. Sorry, it sounds like things have been rough, and I know in this instance I can speak for both Scott and I, where I can say it's we know where you're coming from. This has been one of those years, personally, and we love you so much, Tim. We appreciate all your continued support, and we hope that next year, is a lot brighter for you. With that said,
we know. Hold on, Jake. We know he
ahead.
loves the show,
right?
Forever. Like he said,
Forever.
I'll always love the show,
right?
So for Tim,
we can do whatever we want now.
Right? We don't have to fucking do anything. We don't have to change his mind. We
He's
don't
promised.
have to work hard for this at all. You love the show, sucker. You're fucking in. We're done with you. We got you for all time now.
I like that you essentially have just adopted the Vince McMahon strategy.
Yeah, he's in. He's a lifer.
Where are you gonna go?
Let's address his fucking question.
Where are you gonna go? Right? WWE Intercontinental Championship, most prestigious. I would agree if they hadn't had this long Roman Reigns thing occur. While you're right, the Intercontinental is the most pure. I think it's the most pure championship they have. I think they've done a good job.
That's
of
ROH.
Oh, that's a pure wrestling where it's like different rules and shit.
They have the pure championship. That is the most pure.
Well, no, that's the second most pure because it just has the name on it, but it's not as pure. How old is it?
Silver.
How old is it?
That shit's pure because you can see if it's not pure. You can see.
No. I'm saying
company have been around.
I'm saying pure, not poor. Because we're talking about gold, baby. None of that silver shit. The Intercontinental. Anyways, I think that they've done a really good job of making the Roman thing seem like a very, very, very big deal.
Yeah, but which one?
This might be semantic though. Like it might just be like, well, what do you mean by prestigious? Like But
the WWE Championship, right? There's fucking 3 of them. Heyman's holding a couple. Roman's got one. Like it's muddled.
I mean,
it's crazy. It's weird.
It isn't. It's not really that. Like I think we are all overacting because it's silly how many there are, and it's silly that they fucking added one and Seth won it. But it's not entirely muddled. It's literally just the 2 titles that they had that are fucking now combined. It's just what was the WWE and the Universal. Now it's just the WWE Universal, and that's just what they're calling it.
I would love for you to explain this to someone who just watches it and doesn't watch wrestling, and they go, "What's that?"
It's not that complicated. 2 things became one thing, and then they added a 3rd thing. That's it. That's the fucking description. What muddled it,
they're all out there.
Was Heyman attempting to? I think Heyman. I don't know if he was going into business for himself, thinking if I keep saying this, they will write it and make it so. But they never actually started using the term undisputed in an official fashion, even though he kept saying that. And I think maybe things would have been a little bit more simple if he didn't go this is what I want to fucking call it, you guys. I feel like that was him being like, hey, creative, this is what it should be. But I will say that. I'm looking
at their site right now. It says undisputed WWE Universal Champion.
So they did eventually do that then. All right. Well, there you go. Great. It's simple. He's the undisputed, except there's another one.
Yeah, WWE and Universal, and I don't. So that's why I can see the argument for Intercontinental is just Intercontinental.
100%, yes, and that's what I'm saying.
And they didn't do Subcontinental. I mean, AEW's added in their Continental, whatever fucking title they are, but
or it didn't absorb the US title ever.
There's no Saudi World Championship that's also making it not as prestigious. So I can get that. And Gunther's presentation of it's all good. That's hard. It's hard to dispute because when you do start fucking with the one a little bit, or you make a secondary thing, it can downgrade it. It can easily downgrade for fans. And I'm sure there's plenty that will go like, what are you talking about? Roman's title is a fucking title. Well, there's the argument for you. Right. And I'm trying to think if there's another championship in the world of wrestling that I really consider to be the top title. I think I do think it's Roman's by default, but I'm most excited for Gunther in Intercontinental. If you're putting anything on a poster, if someone's going to main event a show, if I'm going to watch anything, I'm sooner into Gunther in his reign because I know that is just the one title, and his matches have far less soliloquies in them.
Yeah. No, I understand. You're not a big fan of the asides.
So I can't change his mind. I wish if Roman Reigns started doing some fucking Zach Morris timeouts, then that's the top title, and I'll fight you to the bitter end, Tim Redbeard. But no. So what's yours?
I told you. I think it's Roman's, like you said.
It's Roman's. Okay.
But I think it's because of what they did. I told you. I think it's because
change it.
The title doesn't make the man and all that jazz. And while Gunther is one of the best things they got going, Roman's the best thing they got going, and he is operating on a level that, you know, we wanted him to do for years, that they believed he could, but we didn't. And then they eventually made it so that they proved us all wrong. And we went, no, fucking Roman is the guy. Hey, who would have thought? All you needed to do was just like, you know,
make him bad.
No, so fucking, you know, kick Cancer's ass and come back and
is that an NXT guy?
Yeah, he's it was Scripps' partner.
Oh no, not Scripps' partner.
Yeah. It was unfortunate. It was a really horrible situation. They had him surgically removed.
Oh, that's so sad.
What was so sad is at the end of the day, we learned out it was actually fucking benign. But
his mistress.
Yeah. I mean, Roman, while I am interested to see who beats Gunther, and it will be a big deal, it will not be as big a deal as whoever the fuck takes that title from Roman.
What if it's Gunther that beats him? Then you're a snake eating its own tail.
Oh my God. Will he be the WWE undisputed Universal Intercontinental Champion?
Oh my God. That would be so fucking crazy.
And I like the idea that like the rest of Imperium has to carry around all the belts the way that Heyman did.
Mm-hmm. That could be something.
Listen, I'm not going to lie.
Like daisy chained together.
You know, the belt collector gimmick that we've seen many people do. Some people do better than others. Like Gunther's the guy. If you're going to do that with anybody, like have him win everything because he looks like he should. And he has the athletic, the athletic approach to the industry versus the sports entertainer approach, even though he's doing a good job of blending the two.
And then they're like almost like trophies,
right?
That, like he's a game hunter,
right? 100%.
If you were to show a room in his house, that it's not like, this is actually not a knock on a Matt Cardona.
Oh,
in this one instance. So just
for the first time ever.
So when you see his house and you see the championships, you're like, yeah, that's a fan. That's a fan's championships.
And how is this not? How is this not a knock on him?
Just because like that's what he is.
Okay.
So I'm not downgrading that. I'm saying if you show it in Gunther's house, it has to look like a fucking trophy room.
Sure.
It has to look like a game hunter's room, where these titles are presented in a different way. They're different.
It's got
like maybe
different
they're in glass cases,
wrestlers' heads mounted on wooden things. Yeah.
But it's any other accomplishments he's ever earned, or if you want to make up some, it's like other wrestling things and trophies. It has to look like this room of accomplishment. That it's not just, I got all these sweet fucking replica belts. Aren't these awesome?
Thanks again for the call. And I understand the point of view. I know once again, he's the champ. So I think the most prestigious champ is the PWP title.
I've never won it.
Well, we will continue our discussion of 2023 year in wrestling next week on the program. That'll do it for this week. Scott Narver, before we go, we need to thank our current Patreon Palskis.
The only wrestling podcast that gives you a retribution name as well as a maximum male model name. So thank you to all of our current Patreon Palskis: AJ0314, aka Binary, aka Matrice69, Alex Pierce, aka Figs, aka Zitoys, Alice Rader, aka Invasion, aka Yves Joie, Andrea Beeler, aka Pollen Hate, aka Chewed Detest, Curtis Mason, aka Hurtus, Gilbert Short, aka Goliathon, aka Batal Underoos, Mass Lama, aka Spitz, aka Jakara Lover, Michael Beltran, aka Limestone, aka La Natural, Miguel Diaz, aka Bipod, aka Too Much Husk, Mike Lucas, aka Hackensack, aka Luge Testicle, Suicide, aka AKA Tim Bemis, aka War Trek, aka Tussle Quest, Tim Redbeard, aka Blood Fuzz, aka Blue de Fusée, aka the current PWP champ, Tom Hader, aka
Cupid?
Yeah, sorry. Tom Hader, aka Cupid, aka Cherub, and Tony Griggs, aka Big Griggs, aka Grand Grisois.
Thanks to each and every one of you for your continued support of the program. Once again, patreon.com/PWPalskis is the best way to support the show. And there is so much there for you to see, for you to hear, for you to experience, for you to comment on and be a part of. So please check out patreon.com/PWPalskis. That'll do it for this week's show. Once again, we'll be back next week. In the meantime, you can follow us on the socials at PWPalskis. I'm at Jake Lloyd Bacon. He's at Scott Narver. Check out the shop over at dragonwagonshop.com. There you can find yourself a brand new hat, a brand new hoodie. Keep yourself cozy in the winter. We got shirts, we got mugs, we got phone cases. Lots of great stuff there, and new stuff appearing regularly, and all different sorts of designs too. It's not just people like, I love the show, but I don't like your logo. I don't like your little PWP bolt. It's stupid and you guys are dumb. I think, hey, that's fair. We all have opinions, but maybe you want a fantastic Hey Oat shirt, or maybe you want the Scott's Clarion call of Get Fat and Quit. All that's available there over at the shop.
And to clarify the rumors and speculation that have been going around that a chemical is being used for the footy pajamas that has been condemned in 49 out of the 50 United States, prove it. That's what I got to say. So
they've been selling
in your court,
selling like hotcakes. Thanks, everybody. We hope you had fun today. We'll see you next week. Always a blast hanging out with you, the Pro Wrestling Palskis.
If you're enjoying this podcast or any podcasts on the Dragon Wagon Radio Network, be sure to check out the Dragon Wagon Shop. You can tout your podcast pride while supporting your favorite indie podcast network. Make sure to check it often for new items and limited time designs. So shop now at dragonwagonshop.com. Get your dragon swag on.
It's Dragon Wagon.